Maya Williams stepped out of her sleek black Tesla and handed the keys to the valet. The evening air was crisp, and the golden lights of Le Chateau Noir glowed warmly against the dark sky. This was supposed to be a celebration dinner with her business partners after closing a deal worth millions. She had worked 15 years to build her tech empire, and tonight felt like the perfect time to treat herself to the city's most exclusive restaurant. The restaurant's reputation preceded it. Chef Antoine Dubois was a legend in the culinary world, known for his innovative French cuisine and his 3 Michelin stars. People waited months for reservations, and Maya had used her connections to secure a table for 6 at short notice. She was excited to finally experience what everyone called the meal of a lifetime. As Maya approached the entrance, she noticed other diners dressed in expensive clothes, laughing and chatting as they entered. She had chosen her outfit carefully, a simple but elegant black dress with pearl earrings, looking every bit the successful businesswoman she was. Her natural hair was styled in a beautiful twist, and she carried herself with the confidence that came from years of breaking barriers in the tech industry. The hostess at the front desk looked up as Maya approached. The woman's smile was polite, but seemed to freeze slightly when she saw Maya's face. "Good evening," the hostess said, her voice suddenly cooler than it had been with the previous guests. "Good evening. I have a reservation for 6 under Williams," Maya said warmly. Checking her phone for the confirmation, the hostess looked down at her book, running her finger along the pages slowly. Too slowly. Maya had made hundreds of business dinners and could sense when something was off. "I don't see anything under Williams," the hostess finally said, not looking up. Maya pulled out her phone and showed the confirmation email. "Here it is. Table for 6 at 8:30. The hostess glanced at the screen quickly, then back at her book. "I'm sorry, but we're completely booked tonight. There must have been some mistake with your reservation." "A mistake?" Maya's voice remained calm, but she could feel her patience starting to thin. "I confirmed this yesterday." "Perhaps you made the reservation at a different restaurant? There are many places with similar names." The hostess's tone was dismissive now, as if she were talking to someone who had wandered in off the street. Maya looked around the restaurant. She could see empty tables, and through the window, she had watched the hostess seat 3 other parties in the past 10 minutes. None of those people had been questioned about their reservations. "I'd like to speak with the manager, please," Maya said firmly. The hostess sighed as if this request was a great inconvenience. "The manager is very busy tonight. Perhaps you could try calling tomorrow to discuss this situation." Before Maya could respond, a tall man in chef's whites appeared from the kitchen area. Chef Antoine Dubois himself. Maya recognized him from magazine covers and television shows. He was in his 50s, with graying hair and sharp features that had made him a celebrity chef. He moved through the dining room like he owned the world, stopping to chat with certain tables. The hostess quickly called him over. "Chef Dubois, we have a small issue here." The chef's eyes swept over Maya, taking in her appearance with barely concealed disdain. His expression was one Maya had seen too many times in her career, the look of someone who had already decided she didn't belong. "What seems to be the problem?" he asked, directing his question to the hostess rather than Maya. "This lady claims she has a reservation, but we can't find it anywhere," the hostess said. Maya stepped forward. "I'm Maya Williams. I have a confirmed reservation for 8:30. She held out her phone again, but the chef barely glanced at it. "I'm sorry, but Le Chateau Noir maintains very strict standards," Chef Dubois said, his French accent making his words sound even more condescending. "We cater to a very particular clientele. Perhaps you would be more comfortable at one of the establishments down the street." The words hit Maya like a slap. She had faced racism before, but it was usually more subtle, hidden behind corporate speak and fake smiles. This was different, This was bold and shameless. "Excuse me?" Maya's voice was steady, but inside she was fighting a storm of anger and hurt. "Our dress code is quite specific," the chef continued, looking at Maya's perfectly appropriate outfit with obvious distaste. "And we find that certain types of people simply don't appreciate the sophistication of our cuisine." Maya felt the blood rush to her face. Around them, other diners had started to notice the commotion. Some were staring openly, while others whispered behind their hands. The humiliation was almost unbearable. "I see," Maya said quietly. "And what types of people are those?" Chef Dubois smiled coldly. "I think we understand each other perfectly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have paying customers to attend to." He turned to walk away, but Maya's voice stopped him. "You're making a mistake." The chef turned back, his eyebrows raised in amusement. "Am I?" "I don't think so. Security will show you out if necessary." Maya looked around the restaurant one more time. The other diners had gone back to their meals, but she could still feel their eyes on her. The hostess was already turning away, dismissing her completely. This was supposed to be a celebration, but instead, it had become one of the most humiliating experiences of her life. She straightened her shoulders and walked toward the exit with as much dignity as she could manage. But as she reached the door, she turned back to look at Chef Dubois, who was watching her leave with satisfaction. "You have no idea who you just insulted," Maya said calmly. "But you will." The chef laughed. "Is that a threat? From someone like you?" Maya didn't respond. She simply walked out into the night, her mind already working. She hadn't built a billion-dollar empire by backing down from fights. She had faced discrimination before and turned it into motivation. This time would be no different. As she waited for her car, Maya pulled out her phone and made a call to her attorney. Then she made another call to her investment team. By the time her Tesla arrived, she was already setting a plan in motion. Chef Antoine Dubois had no idea what he had just started. He thought he was dealing with just another customer he could dismiss and forget. He was about to learn that Maya Williams was not someone who disappeared quietly into the night. The valet returned with her car, treating her with the respect she should have received inside. As she drove away, Maya glanced back at the restaurant one last time. Le Chateau Noir looked beautiful in the evening light, but she now saw it differently. She saw an opportunity. Maya had always believed that the best revenge was massive success. Tonight, she would add a new chapter to that philosophy. Sometimes the best revenge was buying out your enemies and showing them exactly what they had underestimated. Her phone buzzed with a text from her business partners asking where she was. Maya smiled for the first time since entering the restaurant. She had a new deal to discuss with them, and this one was going to be very interesting indeed. 3 weeks later, Maya sat in her office overlooking the city. Her lawyers had been busy and her investment team had worked around the clock. The plan was coming together beautifully. She had learned that Le Chateau Noir, despite its reputation, was struggling financially. The owner was looking to sell, and Maya had made sure she would be the highest bidder. She thought about that night often, remembering the humiliation and anger. But now, those feelings had transformed into something else entirely: determination and anticipation. Chef Antoine Dubois was about to receive a lesson in respect that he would never forget. Maya's assistant knocked on her door. "Ms. Williams, the final paperwork for the Le Chateau Noir acquisition is ready for your signature." Maya smiled and reached for her pen. "Perfect timing." Maya Williams had always been thorough in her business dealings, but this acquisition required extra care. She couldn't just buy Le Chateau Noir and fire Chef Dubois immediately. That would be too obvious, and it wouldn't teach him the lesson he needed to learn. She needed to understand exactly what kind of operation he was running and document everything properly. She hired a private investigation firm to look into the restaurant's practices. What they found was worse than she had imagined. The restaurant had a pattern of discrimination that went back years, but it was always carefully hidden. Wealthy black customers were told tables weren't available, even when reservations existed. Latino customers were seated near the kitchen or bathroom, away from the main dining room. The staff had been trained in subtle ways to discourage certain customers without leaving obvious evidence. Maya also discovered that several employees had filed complaints with the labor board about discriminatory treatment. Black servers were given fewer good tables, resulting in lower tips. Kitchen staff from minority backgrounds were passed over for promotions, regardless of their skills or experience. Chef Dubois had created a culture of discrimination that affected both customers and employees. The financial investigation revealed that the restaurant's problems went deeper than just racism. Despite its Michelin stars and celebrity status, Le Chateau Noir was hemorrhaging money. Chef Dubois lived an extravagant lifestyle, spending restaurant profits on expensive cars, a luxury apartment, and frequent trips to France. He had borrowed heavily against the restaurant's reputation, and creditors were starting to circle. Maya learned that the current owner, an elderly French businessman named Philippe Laurent, was desperate to sell. He lived in Paris and had trusted Dubois to run the restaurant properly. Laurent had no idea about the discrimination or the financial mismanagement. All he knew was that the restaurant was losing money and his investment was at risk. This information gave Maya the perfect opportunity. She arranged to meet Laurent through intermediaries, presenting herself as a successful businesswoman interested in expanding into the restaurant industry. She didn't mention her experience at Le Chateau Noir, instead focusing on her business credentials and her vision for upscale dining. Laurent was impressed by Maya's success and her financial backing. During their video calls, she presented detailed business plans for restaurant expansion and spoke knowledgeably about the food industry. She had done her homework, studying restaurant management, food trends, and the fine dining market. Laurent began to see her as the perfect buyer, someone with both the money and the business sense to turn his restaurant around. Meanwhile, Maya continued her investigation into Chef Dubois personally. She discovered that his reputation in the culinary world was largely built on the work of others. Several talented chefs had worked under him and created signature dishes that he took credit for. Many of these chefs had left the restaurant, citing his impossible personality and unfair treatment. She also found that Dubois had been involved in several scandals that had been quietly covered up. He had made inappropriate comments to female employees, used racial slurs in the kitchen, and once thrown a plate at a server who made a mistake. The restaurant's insurance company had paid out several settlements to avoid lawsuits, and a PR firm had worked to keep these incidents out of the media. The more Maya learned, the more determined she became to not just buy the restaurant, but to completely transform it. She began developing a plan that would address every aspect of the discrimination and mismanagement she had uncovered. While the acquisition was being finalized, Maya started building her new team. She reached out to some of the talented chefs who had left Le Chateau Noir, offering them opportunities to return under new management. She also contacted employees who had filed discrimination complaints, letting them know that changes were coming. Maya's lawyer advised her to move slowly and document everything carefully. They needed to ensure that when she took over, she had legal grounds to make the changes she wanted. Every instance of discrimination needed to be recorded and witnessed. Every financial irregularity needed to be documented. Every employee complaint needed to be verified and updated. 3 months after her humiliating experience at the restaurant, Maya finally signed the papers to become the new owner of Le Chateau Noir. The sale was structured as a private transaction, with Maya's ownership hidden behind a shell company. Chef Dubois had no idea that the woman he had insulted and humiliated was now his new boss. Laurent was relieved to complete the sale and return to his retirement in France. He signed over everything: the building lease, equipment, staff contracts, and even the rights to the restaurant's name and reputation. Maya now owned every aspect of the operation that had treated her so poorly. The day after the sale was completed, Maya sat in her office and reviewed the final reports from her investigators. She had a complete picture of how Le Chateau Noir operated, from the discriminatory seating policies to the financial mismanagement to the toxic workplace culture. She also had video evidence of customers being turned away based on their appearance, and recorded conversations of staff members discussing how to discourage certain types of diners. Maya's phone rang. It was her head of security, calling from outside Le Chateau Noir. "Everything's ready, Ms. Williams. We've been monitoring the restaurant all week, and we have clear documentation of the discriminatory practices. Are you ready to proceed?" Maya looked out her office window at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Chef Antoine Dubois was going about his evening, completely unaware that his world was about to change forever. "Yes," she said. "Schedule the meeting for tomorrow afternoon. Make sure the entire senior staff is present, and make sure we have cameras recording everything." "Understood. What should we tell them the meeting is about?" Maya smiled. "Tell them the new owner wants to introduce herself." She hung up the phone and opened the folder containing her plans for Le Chateau Noir's transformation. She had designed a new management structure that prioritized diversity and inclusion. She had developed training programs to eliminate discrimination and create a welcoming environment for all customers and employees. She had even planned a grand reopening that would celebrate the restaurant's new direction. But first, she had some old business to settle with Chef Antoine Dubois. Maya's assistant knocked on her door. "Ms. Williams, the media team is here to discuss the press release for tomorrow." "Send them in," Maya said. She was going to make sure that when Chef Dubois learned his lesson, the whole culinary world would be watching. Sometimes the most powerful lessons were the ones delivered in public. The next 24 hours would change everything at Le Chateau Noir. Maya had spent months planning this moment, and she was ready to show Chef Dubois exactly what happened when you underestimated the wrong person. As she prepared for tomorrow's meeting, Maya thought about all the other people who had probably been humiliated at that restaurant. She thought about the employees who had been discriminated against and the customers who had been turned away. Tomorrow wasn't just about her revenge. It was about justice for everyone who had been wronged. Maya Williams had built her fortune by being smart, patient, and strategic. Tomorrow, Chef Antoine Dubois would discover that she was also someone you definitely didn't want as an enemy. The staff meeting was scheduled for 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, during the quiet period between lunch and dinner service. Maya arrived at Le Chateau Noir 30 minutes early, entering through the back entrance that she now owned. The irony wasn't lost on her. The last time she had been in this building, she had been escorted out the front door in humiliation. Maya had chosen her outfit carefully for this moment. She wore a sharp navy blue business suit that screamed executive power, paired with the same pearl earrings she had worn that night 3 months ago. Her hair was styled in a sleek, professional look, and she carried a leather portfolio containing all the evidence her investigation had uncovered. The restaurant's private dining room had been set up for the meeting. Maya's security team had already installed cameras to record everything, and her lawyer sat quietly in the corner with a stack of legal documents. Maya took her seat at the head of the long mahogany table and waited for the staff to arrive. Chef Antoine Dubois entered first, looking annoyed at being called to a meeting during his preparation time. He was followed by the hostess who had turned Maya away, the assistant manager, and several senior kitchen staff members. None of them recognized the woman sitting at the head of their conference table. "What's this about?" Dubois demanded, not bothering with pleasantries. "I have dinner service to prepare for, and I don't have time for corporate nonsense." Maya studied his face calmly. He looked exactly the same as he had that night, arrogant, dismissive, and completely certain of his own importance. The hostess took a seat near him, whispering something about the new owner wanting to meet the team. "Please, everyone take a seat," Maya said in a voice that commanded attention. "We have a lot to discuss." Dubois remained standing, crossing his arms defiantly. "Look, whoever you are, I run this kitchen. I have 3 Michelin stars, and I don't take orders from corporate suits who don't understand fine dining." "I understand fine dining perfectly well," Maya replied smoothly. "In fact, I tried to experience your version of it 3 months ago. Perhaps you remember." The chef's expression didn't change. He had probably insulted dozens of customers over the years and couldn't be expected to remember them all. Maya reached into her portfolio and pulled out a printed photograph. A security camera image of her standing at the hostess station that night. She slid it across the table toward Dubois. "Let me refresh your memory. 3 months ago, I made a reservation at this restaurant to celebrate a business success. I arrived on time, properly dressed, with a confirmed reservation. And you personally told me that people like me don't appreciate sophisticated cuisine." The color began to drain from Dubois' face as he picked up the photograph. The hostess leaned over to look at it, and Maya saw the moment when recognition dawned in her eyes. "You said Le Chateau Noir caters to a very particular clientele," Maya continued, her voice never wavering. "You suggested I would be more comfortable at establishments down the street. Do you remember now?" Dubois set the photo down with a shaking hand. There must be some mistake. We treat all customers with respect." "Really?" Maya pulled out another folder, this one thick with documents. "Because my investigation suggests otherwise. Would you like to see the evidence?" She began laying out papers on the table, copies of discrimination complaints filed by employees, records of customers being turned away based on their appearance, financial documents showing mismanagement of restaurant funds, and witness statements from former staff members. "Ms. Rodriguez," Maya called to the hostess, "would you like to explain to everyone how you were trained to handle reservations for customers who didn't fit the restaurant's image?" The hostess looked terrified. I was just following procedures. Procedures that specifically targeted customers based on race," Maya's lawyer interjected, looking up from his legal pad. "Procedures that violated federal and state civil rights laws." Maya stood up slowly, commanding the attention of everyone in the room. "Let me introduce myself properly. My name is Maya Williams. I am the founder and CEO of Williams Tech Solutions, a company that generated $1.2 billion in revenue last year. I own properties in 12 major cities, employ over 3,000 people, and sit on the boards of 5 major corporations." The room was completely silent now. Even the kitchen noise from the other room seemed to have stopped. "And as of yesterday," Maya continued, "I am the new owner of Le Chateau Noir." The impact of her words was immediate. Dubois collapsed into a chair as if his legs had given out. The hostess put her hand over her mouth in shock. The other staff members looked around at each other with growing panic. You can't be," Dubois stammered. Maya pulled out the ownership documents and placed them on the table. "I am. And I've spent the last 3 months learning everything about how this restaurant operates, the discrimination against customers, the harassment of employees, the financial mismanagement, the toxic workplace culture you've created." She walked around the table slowly, making eye contact with each staff member. "Some of you participated willingly in the discrimination. Others were simply following orders from supervisors. I've reviewed each of your personnel files, and I know which category you fall into." Maya stopped behind Dubois' chair. "Chef Dubois, you're fired, effective immediately. Security will escort you out, and you have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings. Any attempt to take restaurant property, recipes, or client information will result in criminal charges." Dubois spun around in his chair, his face red with anger and panic. "You can't do this. I have a contract. I made this restaurant famous." "Your contract has a morality clause," Maya's lawyer said, consulting his documents. "Discrimination against customers and employees is grounds for immediate termination. As for making the restaurant famous, our investigation shows that most of your signature dishes were created by other chefs who worked under you." Maya returned to her seat at the head of the table. "Ms. Rodriguez, you're also terminated. Your participation in the discriminatory practices was documented and willful." The hostess began to cry, but Maya felt no sympathy. She thought about all the customers who had been humiliated the way she was, and her resolve strengthened. "For the rest of you," Maya continued, "you have a choice. You can participate in the complete transformation of this restaurant, starting with mandatory diversity and inclusion training, or you can find employment elsewhere. Those who choose to stay will work under new management with new policies that ensure every customer and employee is treated with respect and dignity." She opened another folder and began distributing documents. "These are the new employment contracts for those who want to stay. They include significantly better wages, comprehensive benefits, and clear policies against discrimination of any kind." One of the sous chefs raised his hand tentatively. "What about the Michelin-Stars? If Chef Dubois leaves..." "The stars belong to the restaurant, not to any individual chef," Maya explained. "We'll be bringing in new culinary leadership, talented chefs who were previously passed over because they didn't fit Chef Dubois' narrow vision of what a chef should look like." Maya's phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it and smiled. "In fact, our new head chef is here." The dining room door opened, and a young black woman in chef's whites entered. She was followed by two other chefs, a Latina woman and an Asian man. All three had worked at Le Chateau Noir before being driven away by Dubois's discriminatory management. "Everyone, meet Chef Jessica Washington, your new head chef. She trained at Le Cordon Bleu, worked in restaurants across Europe, and created 3 of the dishes that Chef Dubois took credit for during his time here." Chef Washington stepped forward with confidence. "I'm excited to work with all of you to create an environment where talent and creativity are valued over everything else. We're going to maintain the excellence this restaurant is known for while making sure everyone feels welcome here." Dubois had been sitting in stunned silence, but now he exploded. "This is ridiculous! You're going to destroy everything I've built! This restaurant will fail without me!" Maya turned to him with a cold smile. "Chef Dubois, you destroyed your own reputation the moment you decided that your prejudices were more important than treating people with basic human decency. Security will escort you out now." 2 security guards appeared at the door and moved toward Dubois. He looked around the room desperately, seeking support from his former staff, but found only uncomfortable silence. "This isn't over," he said as the guards reached him. "I'll fight this. I'll sue. I'll make sure everyone knows what you've done." "Please do," Maya replied calmly. "I'm sure the culinary world will be very interested to learn about your discriminatory practices and financial mismanagement. The evidence is all documented and ready for any legal proceeding you'd like to initiate." As Dubois was escorted out, Maya addressed the remaining staff. "I want to be very clear about something. What happened here was not just about one incident of racism, although that's what brought it to my attention. This is about creating a restaurant where everyone, customers and employees alike, is treated with dignity and respect." She pulled out one final document. "This is our new mission statement. We will serve exceptional food to everyone who walks through our doors, regardless of their race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or economic background. We will employ and promote based on talent and character, not on prejudice or favoritism." Maya looked around the room, making eye contact with each person. "Those of you who can't support this mission are welcome to leave now. Those who stay will be part of something better than what this restaurant was before." One by one, the staff members signed their new contracts. Even those who had participated in the discrimination seemed eager for a chance to be part of a better workplace. As the meeting ended, Maya remained seated at the conference table, watching her new employees discuss the changes with Chef Washington. Her phone buzzed with messages from reporters who had already gotten word of the ownership change and Dubois' firing. Maya's assistant appeared at her side. "Ms. Williams, the press is calling. How do you want to handle this?" Maya smiled, thinking about the headlines that would appear in tomorrow's food magazines and business journals. "Schedule a press conference for tomorrow. It's time the whole industry learned about what happened here and what we're going to do differently." 6 months later, Le Chateau Noir reopened under Maya's leadership. The restaurant maintained its 3 Michelin stars while becoming known as one of the most inclusive and welcoming fine dining establishments in the city. Chef Washington's innovative menu received rave reviews, and the restaurant's new policies became a model for the industry. Maya kept the original reservation confirmation from that night 3 months ago framed in her office. It reminded her that sometimes the worst experiences could lead to the most meaningful changes. Chef Antoine Dubois had unknowingly given her the opportunity to transform not just one restaurant, but to make a statement about dignity, respect, and justice that would echo throughout the culinary world. The woman he had dismissed as not appreciating sophisticated cuisine had shown him what true sophistication really meant, treating every person with the respect they deserved, regardless of what they looked like or where they came from.